Welcome, everyone. Today, we are going to focus on a skill that is just absolutely critical for communicating effectively in Mandarin, the art of description. Now, this isn't just about memorizing a list of words. Oh, no. We are going to really break down how to build sentences that are not only grammatically perfect, but also packed with cultural meaning. So, let's kick things off with a simple question. Take a look at the slide. How would you describe this apple? I know, it seems pretty straightforward, right? But to answer this question well and fluently in Mandarin, you actually need a mix of vocabulary, grammar, and even a little cultural awareness. And by the time we're done with our lecture today, you're going to have all the tools you need to do it with complete confidence. That's our goal. So, here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to define our goal. Then, we'll start gathering our building blocks. That's our key vocabulary. After that, we'll look at the grammatical blueprint, how to actually structure our sentences. Then comes the really interesting part. We'll dive into the cultural nuance behind the words. And finally, we'll put it all together and get some real practice in. Okay, so first things first. What's our objective here? Well, the ultimate aim of this lesson is to get you ready for a practical conversational role play. This is not just some theoretical exercise, This is all about building the skills you need for real-world interactions, where you'll be describing things to a partner. Now, you might be thinking, why is this so important? Well, the ability to describe things clearly, it's the foundation for so many daily conversations. Just think about it for a second. You use this skill when you're out shopping and you're asking for something specific, or when you're telling a friend about something you saw, or even just giving simple directions. Getting a handle on this is a huge step toward real fluency. All right, let's move on to our building blocks, the vocabulary. We're going to start with some of the most fundamental words for color and size. Now, for those of you who are really serious about your studies, I want you to do more than just memorize the pinyin and the meaning. I want you to really look at the characters themselves, understanding their components, their radicals. That is the key to truly internalizing the language. Let's start with 红色, 红色, which of course means red. The key character to focus on here is 红, 红. Now, if you look closely at the left side, you'll see this component, s. This is what we call the silk radical, and its presence here is a huge clue to the character's origin. It's meant to evoke this image of dyeing silk fabric, a beautiful, vibrant red. So from now on, when you see this character, I want you to picture that, luxurious, red-dyed silk. Next up, we have 蓝色 for blue. The character here is lan, lan. This one's a bit more complex, but I want you to notice the radical right at the very top, cao. That's the grass or plant radical. You'll see it in a lot of characters related to plants, and that's because, historically, blue dye was made from the indigo plant. So that little radical at the top is your hint, your connection to its botanical roots. And here we have 黄色, yellow. Now the character huang, huang, is just fascinating because it's what we call a pictogram. The earliest forms of this character are thought to have been an actual drawing of an object, maybe a decorative piece of jade that you'd wear on a belt. It's one of the oldest characters, and it represents a core concept visually. Pretty cool, right? Okay, let's switch over to size. This character is da meaning big or large. And the brilliance of this character is in its simplicity. It's a pictogram of a person. See it? A person standing there with their arms stretched wide open, as if they're saying, it's this big. It is such an intuitive, physical representation of the whole idea of largeness. And of course, the opposite of da is xiao, for small or little. The character here has a central hook with two little dots on either side. These are meant to represent tiny particles like grains of sand or seeds being scattered. It visually captures this idea of something being divided into tiny pieces, and that's why it means small. So now that we have some of our vocabulary, our building blocks, we need the blueprint. We need the grammar. This is what tells us how to assemble our words into sentences that are correct and actually make sense. So let's take a look at the basic structure for describing an object. Okay, now I want everyone to pay close attention here, because the presence of hun, H-E-N, on this slide is so important. A lot of students learn that hun means very, so they look at 苹果很红, 苹果很红, and they think it means the apple is very red. And while, yes, it can mean that, in a simple descriptive sentence like this one, hun is really acting as a kind of grammatical linker. In spoken Mandarin, you can't just say 苹果红. It sounds incomplete. In this context, hun is the necessary glue that connects the noun to its adjective. You can almost think of it as a stand-in for the verb to be. So the pattern you need to remember is subject, then hun, then the adjective. This is a crucial point.
Now, let's talk about another vital piece of grammar, the particle the. Duh. This little word lets us create much more complex descriptive phrases. Just compare the two examples on the slide. On the left, you have 红苹果, 红苹果. This treats red apple almost like a single concept, like a compound noun. But when we use the to say 红色的苹果, 红色的苹果, we are explicitly linking the attribute of redness to the noun apple. It puts more emphasis on the quality, and it's a more formal descriptive structure. Understanding this difference is really key to taking your grammar to the next level.
All right, now if you really want to master a language, you have to understand this. A language exists within a culture. You can't just learn words from a dictionary. Words carry these deep layers of shared meaning, history, and symbolism. And this is especially true when we start talking about colors in Chinese culture. This right here perfectly illustrates the point. For any of you planning to live or work in a Chinese-speaking environment, understanding this is non-negotiable. 红色, 红色 is the color of celebration. It's the color of the red envelopes, the 红包, that are given during Chinese New Year. Traditionally, it's the color of a bride's wedding dress. In business, if a company's stock price goes up, it's shown in red, the complete opposite of the West. Using the color red appropriately shows that you have respect and cultural understanding. It is so much more than just a descriptor, it's an incredibly powerful cultural symbol. So we have the vocabulary, we have the grammar, and we have the cultural context. Now it's time to put it all together and actually bring the language to life. Because the final critical piece of the puzzle is pronunciation. You could have the most perfectly constructed sentence, but without the correct tones and sounds, it can be completely misunderstood. I really cannot overstate this. We have to be so diligent with our tones. The syllable ma, for example, can mean mother, hemp, horse, or to scold, and the only difference is the tone you use. So as we move into our dialogue practice, I want you to pay very, very close attention, not just to the words themselves, but to the melodic shape of the sentences. Okay, let's practice this. I'll take speaker A, and my colleague will be speaker B. First, we'll do it at a natural pace.
你的苹果是红色的吗？
是的，我的苹果很大，也很红。
Okay, good. Now let's break it down really slowly and focus on those tones. 你的苹果是红色的吗？
是的，我的苹果很大，也很红。
Now, did you notice that? In 也很, we have two third tones in a row. When that happens, the first one actually changes and becomes a rising second tone. This is a critical rule called tone santi, and you have to get the hang of it. Let's quickly go over some of the most common pronunciation challenges for English speakers. First up, the third tone. It has to have that dip, a fall, then a rise. Don't just make it flat. For a word like hen, you need to feel your voice drop before it comes back up. Second, the H sound in hong. This is not your English H. It's made in the back of your throat, almost like you're gently clearing it. There should be some friction there. And finally, the vowel I. This one is tricky. The I in ni is that familiar E sound. Easy enough. But the I in she is completely different. Here's a trick. Try to say the English word and then, while you're making that sound, just smile. It's a buzzy sound that's pretty unique to Mandarin. And with that, we've really covered all the essential pieces. You have the vocabulary, you have the grammar, you have the cultural insight, and you have the pronunciation practice. You are now absolutely equipped to start that role play. So the question on the slide is for you. Seriously, look around your room right now, pick an object. A book, a pen, your phone, anything. How would you describe it? Just start simple. Is it big? Is it small? What color is it? The journey to fluency begins with that very first simple description. Good luck.